Hello and welcome back to the COMFOCUS podcast. Today, in our third and final episode, we are discussing the technologies that are part of COMFOCUS and the added value that they have in measuring food consumption behavior. The first question: what key guidelines were developed within COMFOCUS?
Yes, so during COMFOCUS project, there were quite a lot of guidelines produced that looked at various areas, starting from self-reported measures, guideline on using consumer behavior as an outcome, guidelines on harmonized socio-demographic scales, as well as
the more emerging technologies, which are looking at things like psychophysiology. So you're looking at heart rate and skin response. And then things like EEG, so you're looking at electrical activity in the brain, but also things such as virtual reality, longitudinal data, and data mining as well. So these are the emerging technologies, and the guidelines were put in place to try and help people understand what their usage is and harmonize in some way how they use those technologies.
In our case, it was eye tracker system and EEG and skin galvanic response. And there was a team of experts from different countries. They worked together to develop these standardized guidelines.
Could you give an overview of the technologies that have been part of COMFOCUS?
At our Faculty of Economics and Management, we run Laboratory of Consumer Studies, which is a really special place for doing this kind of innovative research. Within the lab, we have eye tracking, either mobile or also static version.
the way eye tracking would work is that you would have some sort of sensor, and there are two types of them. They're either the mobile ones or the fixed ones, the mobile ones being the sort of glasses that you put on, and then you can go around looking at different things around you, or the fixed ones that you put usually in front of the person when a person is sitting looking at a computer screen. And these sensors track basically the movement of your eyes, where you look, for how long you look at a certain area. So we can kind of see a map of how you are interacting with a visual stimulus.
The things used in the project in our institute were psychophysiology measures such as heart rate and skin response. Then for heart rate, you would basically put a couple of sensors around the heart. So that's either on your two arms and leg, or literally on your chest around the heart. And you're monitoring the pulse of the heart, which is electrical pulse, and you just see the pulse rate going across the screen, and you're looking to see how fast that pulse is, so like whether they're faster or slower depending what you're doing, but also how variable that pulse is, which gives us some insight into their emotional state. And the other one is skin response, where you can put it anywhere that sweats on the body, but you would put it on the fingers, just purely for practicality's sake, and that's what a lot of other people have done. And you'll monitor basically how much people are sweating, so how much water or salt water is coming off their fingers, and it just comes across as like more or less signal on that finger, and that gives us an idea of their emotional state. So if they were given something highly emotional, you get this little peak.
But in general, facial expression recognition allows you to see precisely what kind of emotion the person was expressing or feeling when they were watching a certain stimulus.
How do you think that the developed COMFOCUS guidelines and tools enhance our understanding of food consumer behavior and food choices?
So we're kind of used to measuring people's opinions, reactions through self-reported measures, right? We usually give people surveys to answer. We give them scales, and we say, how did you feel from scale that goes from 1 to 7, let's say, which is a great method. It's easy to administer. It's easy for people to understand. However, it's not without drawbacks, because in many cases, our responses can be subject to different biases. For example, we might want to appear in a certain favorable light when we are answering these questionnaires, even if it should not affect us, but we're human and we're always subject to some sort of bias. It can also be that we're not paying too much attention. We just want to finish the survey and give back whatever the results. It might be that we are incapable of answering, giving a sort of response that these researchers are asking us for, not because we don't want to, but simply because it's very difficult to identify what precise emotion I felt when I was observing certain stimulus.
And then for the emerging technologies, these are can be more objective measures where we look at bodily or physiological changes that happen when they're making these choices. So they give us a slightly different viewpoint to the self-report measures. So we can maybe ask someone about their values related to food choice and how much food has an emotional content to them. But then we can also use heart rate and skin response to objectively measure their emotion while they're actually making that choice.
But then when we use, let's say, eye tracker, or we use electroencephalograph or galvanic skin response, we see that the reaction of people are different. And yes, we call it like hidden emotions. And it's a very big advantage that we can combine different sources of information for further managerial or marketing decision-making process. So we can combine results of questionnaires with results of this innovative market research. So we can say that finally, at the end of the day, we can provide better data for further decision-making process.
What challenges come with integrating these technologies in research, thinking about finance, practical issues, and ethics?
Challenges, I think we should talk in a proper way with society, and we should explain how this technology works and how this technology can help people. Because many times they can see that, okay, marketers, they want to get some hidden information, some very secret and private information. But we have to explain that what we are doing is because we want to create either better conditions for doing shopping, or, for instance, we want to create a better package. We want to emphasize some important features. For instance, you have some healthy product and you want to create the package attractive enough. So you can use this kind of information to create such a nice package, or you can evaluate hidden emotions while you are eating some new products, new food products. So you are able to design a flavor of the product or taste.
I would say that the biggest challenge of integrating emerging technologies into food consumer research probably might be the cost of the equipment. If we want to implement at least even one type of technology in a laboratory, and we want to have more than one seat, so to say, one setting ready, the cost can rise quite fast. So it's, let's say, not so straightforward to start using them. Some of the technologies also require some background in medicine, in other kinds of science, if you work, for example, in the field of marketing or food research. So overall, training of the people and getting the technologies can become quite a big challenge. That's why I think that COMFOCUS project really put a great start of creating a network of different laboratories that have different technologies and that allow people to collaborate and use the know-how, use the technology of different in different countries, and that way you both you have exchange of ideas, you have exchange of personnel, you have exchange of knowledge, and you also have access to different technologies that would be very hard to get otherwise.
Ethically, so some of these kits are quite require more thought of screening at the people. So if you're looking at heart rate, or if you're looking at eye tracking, perhaps you need to look at epilepsy for eye tracking. For heart rate, you might need to screen for heart condition. So you have to do some sort of medical screening to get the more reliable data potentially. So there's an ethical issue of that. For facial recognition, there's ethical issues about looking at people's faces and deciding what emotion is based on that face, especially across different ethnic groups, and how good that is at picking up different bits and pieces. So there are some potential issues within using this data, but the COMFOCUS is trying to align those issues in a way that's more harmonized, less variable, and so we can be more the data can be more reliable and also like interchangeable. So we can pick one data set from one group and another data set from another group, and we can be relatively sure that they are done in a similar sort of way, so we can compare them.
Message or my feeling or feedback that I was responsible as access management, and I communicated with 67 fellows of Open Call 2, and also it was a very nice intercultural experience, and it was a community of really hardworking and enthusiastic people. They want to continue in this food consumer science research. So will be very good when we will have an opportunity to cooperate further, and maybe we will find some project platform or other ways how to communicate, because food market is something what everyone needs, because we need to eat when we want to survive.
So yeah, I could say that so my background is not food consumer science. My background is more clinical and cognitive neuroscience, so brain imaging and brain stimulation and physiological imaging, which is why I was on the project to help with this. And it's been very interesting to try and take some of these techniques that we use in clinical and medical research that have tried to be standardized, but still are not perfect, and move them into a food consumer space and see what the differences and difficulties of trying to make something work in that space are, and the discussions you have also with. We had a number of research fellows come over and do projects with us from different areas, wildly different areas in food consumer science. The different things they want to look at and the different questions they ask require slightly different tweaking of these technologies, which is very interesting, and it's a journey which we're hoping to get better at, but COMFOCUS starts that journey.
I think, well, this is going to be a very personal opinion, but to me the most beautiful thing was, so I started working by helping to develop some of the guidelines used in this project. So it was kind of a very theoretical work. You have an idea how things should work, but everything is written just in paper. And then in the second part of the project, we had these so-called open calls where the researchers started traveling across different laboratories that belonged to the partners of the project and started running the research. And this was the moment where you could actually see those guidelines coming into play. And you could see practically how useful they were, because we had also researchers coming to our university that did not have much of an experience with, we were offering electrodermal activity measures. They had great ideas. They knew in theory how to use these devices, but they did not have practical knowledge of running such kind of studies. And seeing them actually using these guidelines and thanking us afterwards, saying, oh, this was so easy in the end. I didn't feel lost. I didn't waste time. I knew everything, from the beginning, because I had sort of a checklist of what I'm supposed to think about, what I'm supposed to do. So I would say this was very rewarding. This was a moment when you understand that all of this work actually meant something. And I really hope that all of these guidelines and this method of working and the whole philosophy of COMFOCUS will continue to survive even beyond the end of the project.
Thank you for joining us today in this third and final COMFOCUS podcast episodes. I hope that this podcast gave you a good understanding and added value of COMFOCUS. If you would like to learn more about COMFOCUS or want to make use of the guidelines and tools, please visit our website at comfocus.eu. While this is our final episode, the journey of COMFOCUS continues. Please stay tuned via our socials and hope to see you there.